Do you have a list?
I have a little list.
I have a list. What?
I have one thing.
What?
Besides
You
my...
want to do your one thing now or later?
I can do it now.
Okay.
But it's besides my making a game. What defines a sport? Because I've always heard that there are many different definitions of what a sport is. So there's no like one right answer.
If you're trying to make a difference between a sport and a competition, I would say there is a difference.
But what makes something a sport?
Could Uno be a sport?
Could Uno be a sport?
Is Uno a sport?
Is chess a sport?
It is not.
Is bowling a sport? Is golf a sport? See, there are things that we definitely, I would say, most people agree are sports. Basketball, baseball, football, soccer, curling. Is curling a sport? See, then all of a sudden you started getting into this weird kind of gray area where what you think of as a sport is like you got to have movement, you got to have athleticism, you've got to have
some sort of object.
Well, all competitions have that. That's what makes competition.
No, something like a ball or something.
Oh, now you have to have a thing that you manipulate, much like chess pieces.
Right.
Really?
See, my argument was there's a mental sport, and then there's a full body sport. Because chess isn't full body.
This is unless it's full contact chess.
I don't know how you do that, but just have a bunch of people.
I think what you're identifying is that there is a bias in what people from different cultures call sport. And I really don't think there's a definitive answer because there's not really agreement on what a sport is. So like, for example, I don't know if I ever thought wrestling was a sport. For some reason. I never saw it as a sport. I've always seen boxing. Right. Boxing, they seem like competitions. But then, well, what is badminton?
Right.
And I guess...
say badminton was a sport. Is tennis a sport?
Right. Is tennis a sport? And most people would say yes, tennis is a sport. You know you don't have to hold your phone.
I went to use my phone and then my iPad, because the case is so old, just
But I guess I don't know. I cannot answer that question. It depends on where you are, because if you go into one culture, they're going to have a list of things that they consider sports, and they're going to be very adamant about what is not a sport.
Right. So what's the difference between a competition and a sport?
Well, I would say bowling is a competition.
Why can't it be?
You are competing against another player. You are. It is an us and them. It is a me versus him or a me versus her.
But that's in basketball and football.
Right. So no. All sports are competitions, but not all competitions are sports.
Okay.
That's why Uno can be a competition. Okay.
But
competition, sport, or game.
Right.
Now.
But a game can become a sport.
Can it?
Yes, basketball.
Can it?
It was a game. And it became a sport.
It was always a sport. It was literally... Actually,
it was a game first.
At first, it was fitness.
It was like...
No.
It was a game
at
for
first,
PE class.
No. At first, it was fitness. The whole thing was made for fitness during the winter when there were no other sports to play. I mean, that's what basketball... That's how it starts. But... is it a sport or a game? Are sport versus... Is there a such thing as sport versus game? Like, they're different in some way. Can you have a game that's not a sport? Uno.
Sure.
Can you have a sport that's not a game? I would say no. You see what I mean? So maybe
sports is a competitive game.
Right. But there has to have another element to it that now defines it as a sport, thus leaving the other ones, whatever competitions and games are, leaving them out of the cold. They're not sports. I don't know. You have to do it. Go down and do it one by one for each thing, and now you're gonna be defining what a game, what a competition, and what a sport is.
Right. This was all brought up yesterday. Said something about Overwatch or something about esports.
Right.
And how people want that to be in the Olympics.
Correct. That's what?
Sitting on your ass and moving your thumbs is a sport?
What is shooting a rifle?
You're laying on the ground. Or standing stagnant.
If you're just shooting a rifle.
I don't know that that's sport either.
Right.
Is archery.
But wait. Why do you only equate sports with the Olympics?
I don't.
Because jumping on trampolines doesn't seem much like a sport to me.
It really does not.
But it is a competition.
It seems like a lot of fun.
And you are graded.
It is a lot of fun, but I don't know that it's
Where is ice skating a sport?
I think ice skating is a sport.
But how do you win?
You get the highest amount of points.
By a subjective set of judges.
Yeah, right. True.
So
if you can't make a point,
right?
Like put a ball through a ring and
is that what we're saying a sport is? That you have to have a thing that you manipulate in order to gain points, and you have no judges.
Maybe.
So then gymnastics become not sport.
But then, would Uno be a sport?
Well, we would say it's a game, right? You said it was a game.
Right, but...
What makes it a sport? What in its play would make it a sport? See,
I'd say at some level a sport would be defined by the social...
Is chess a sport?
No.
Why not?
It's a game.
No, you're not giving us the reason why it's not a sport. We agree it's a game.
But all sports are games.
All sports are games. It
doesn't take any physical ability to play chess.
Why do you need physical ability?
Because that's what sports are.
Okay, then that means when I play Doom, I am playing a sport.
No.
Yes, because you just said that your criteria was physical ability. Yep. And trust me, you have a dude that has no hands and tell him to go play Doom, and he has to have a modified controller, and he has to now use that controller. He has to use his body in order to play that game. Just like I have to use my body in order to play that game. So how is it not a sport?
But you have to use your body then to play chess. You can't move the board pieces with your mind. It doesn't mean...
See?
No.
That means Uno
could be a sport.
So on your transcript, you want us to put that you played the sport of Uno?
No, that's not my point.
No.
But
why did you make that leap?
Bring that
up?
Well,
because it's not a sport.
I know
it could be.
No. How do you define what a sport is? I've had this conversation so many times.
I don't know. That's why I told him to bring it to the podcast.
When you're talking about a sport, you're saying something about what you believe sport is.
Yeah.
Is braiding hair a sport?
Hell no.
Why not?
It's an art.
Oh God. Can't some people that you're telling me that I can't be an artist on the court?
I didn't say that.
Well, like you just said, you're like absolutely no.
You're not.
Why does athlete have anything to do with being a sport?
What?
Why does being an athlete, which of course we don't have a definition for, why does that mean?
You asked me about hair.
No.
Hair is not a sport.
Why not?
Hair is an art.
No, wait. It can be an art.
It is not a sport. It will never be a sport.
The act of braiding someone's head could be a sport.
It's a competition.
It it could be a competition.
Competition does not equal sport.
Okay, we have already said that. You need to catch up to where we are. We've already
watched the footage.
Look, I don't want to be in this conversation because I don't have the answers, which is why I said to bring it to the podcast.
No, but
it's not about your answer. It's about your opinion.
Because basically what we're saying is when people talk about what is a sport, because is archery a sport? And that's in the Olympics. Why? Wait. Why is archery a sport?
Because you can do it in all different types of environments, and you have to do it in all types of environments.
Oh my God. What does environment have to do with sport?
I just said to you, I don't have the answer. In my opinion, which I hate when people...
That's what I'm asking.
I hate when people say, in my opinion.
Because
Daddy just said, your opinion is blah, blah, blah.
No. That's what I'm asking is your opinion. Because we don't have a real way of defining any of these terms.
Is an art.
But if you're...
no, it's not just an art. If we made it a game. Like, if we made it a competition. If I just sat here and said...
it isn't.
No, it could be.
But it isn't right now.
No, oh God, you're not getting it.
I am getting it.
Could be a competition if only we then had what? What would make it a competition? Rules, some kind of score, some kind of maybe judging like gymnastics. I mean, what takes us, because if you're talking about esports, what takes us from something that is just a game or fun or a competition to being a sport that then should be recognized alongside all the other sports? Are esports sports? We call them esports, but we don't agree that they are sports. Should League of Legends be in the Olympics?
No.
Should Overwatch be in
the
Olympics?
Should Overwatch
no.
be? It's team based.
So?
There is a set scoring method.
There's spectators that watch it. I mean, what makes any sport a sport? And I think
it's international.
That I don't think any of those things are real criteria for a sport. I just don't know what the criteria is for sport, because to me, you've got the things that we agree on are sports, and when we agree that a thing is a sport, it is a sport. That's it. That's the only real criteria. We all agree it's
not
a sport.
To the person who doesn't agree.
Right, but when the majority of people start to say, yes, that's a sport now.
Then
2 days ago it wasn't a sport, but we agreed today, yep, it is a sport. And from then on it will be a sport. I mean, think about it. Like you said, with basketball. At some point, basketball was not a sport. It wasn't even looked at as a sport. It was just a thing people did. Today, it's a sport. So when did it go from not being a sport to a sport? At some point, there was some kind of agreement about it being a sport. Is downhill skiing a sport?
Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah.
How?
How is it?
Is bobsledding a sport?
Yes.
Oh God, you have almost less control than downhill skiing.
Right.
You literally are just sledding. I mean, you got little rails in the front that you can turn just a little bit, right? And that's all you get.
I have been downhill skiing. I have not been bobsledding because bobsledding scares the pants off of me. Because you're gonna die. You're gonna die in that metal contraption.
Well, I mean,
but at least with the skis, I have control.
You're literally sliding.
Well, you're sliding on both.
Oh, what about which was the luge? Where it's just the guy on the sled and his little toes pointed in.
That wooden friggin' pallet that's just flying down.
So
you gonna die on that bitch too. You gonna die.
Well, wait, is death the possibility of death a defining characteristic of sport now? I mean, what about rock climbing? Is it a sport?
Wait, you have a thing. I'm trying to help you.
Rock
climbing?
Yeah.
I don't know.
You know.
I don't know.
Is
skateboarding? Because it's in the Olympics now.
Right. I mean, I guess
motocross.
Now, I would
BMX.
I would contend that there are competitions inside of the Olympics today that are absolutely not sports.
Yeah.
But that's neither here nor there. I'm not saying that. Listen, I'm not saying that being in the Olympics makes it a sport. Okay, that's important because I don't consider golf a sport.
I don't consider ribbon twirling
a sport. I barely consider baseball a sport. Because, if anybody has ever seen Babe Ruth, this motherfucker was like one of the best. I mean,
Forget about Babe Ruth, what about Cecil Fielder?
I'm just saying, he's one of the best at the game. And he was smoking and eating hot dogs through the whole game. I don't know how anybody could do that.
And he was huge.
And you couldn't do that if you were playing soccer. You couldn't do that if you were playing basketball. You couldn't do that if you were playing any other sport. But in baseball, yes, you can. And baseball is the only sport you can play 2 times in the same day. Is that a sport? That's not true. What other sport can you play?
We played doubleheader soccer games. We played one in the morning.
But don't when they do that, don't they not play the same players in each game?
No.
I thought that they had, because the team was big enough, they could have this team is going to play the first game, and then this team's going to play the second game.
You don't have 25 players on a soccer team.
No, you don't have to have 25, but I'm saying there's a group that is just not going to play that second game. They're going to play harder, run more, and they're not going to be able to play that
Maybe at the professional level, they don't play 2 games in a day, but in collegiate and high school, they play 2 games in a day. I've done it.
Because that just seems like it's...
And volleyball,
that second
play
game.
lots of different... Volleyball.
Yeah, but volleyball's a little different. Volleyball, I could see, because, you spend a lot of time in volleyball not being out there.
Yeah. Now, volleyball, we could play a tournament, and...
You can get a couple games in a day.
Yeah, you have played 3-4 different teams in a day, same girls.
But is volleyball a sport?
Hell yeah, it's a sport.
What makes it a sport?
Dude.
The fact that you did it?
What?
Is that what makes it a sport? The fact that you have a personal connection to it?
No. Even if I didn't have a personal connection to it, it's still a sport. Like tennis is a sport, and badminton is a crazy ass sport.
Badminton is a sport?
Yeah.
What about table tennis?
I don't know. I don't think it's a sport, but that doesn't mean it's not. It's very physical.
It's really giant tennis.
I know. It's very physical.
No, giant tennis. Mm-hmm. You are a giant standing next to the court.
And I have watched the old people in China playing that shit. I don't want to play them. They're
But
they hit that ball so hard.
Is it just a game, or is it a sport?
I'm sorry, I don't think you're going to come to an answer for this thing.
No.
The issue is culture is going to definitely enter in, and it's just not going to be a thing that you're going to be able to come up with a definitive answer. But you could look up what is a game, what is a competition, what is a sport, and then let the different activities fall where they fall based on your dictionary. Because that's basically what's going to happen.
So there you go. That was my one thing.
If you...
Where's your fingers, man?
Want to find us? You can find us on the YouTube, Facebook, Pinterest, iTunes, Spotify, or wherever good podcasts are sold. At The Traveling Farce. If you like the Instagram or the Twitters, Traveling Farce. If you like the email, travelingfarce@gmail.com. And the blog space, thetravelingfarce.blueberry.net. No E's in the blueberry.
And don't forget to check out our Patreon. Which is patreon.com/thetravelingfarce.
I think we need to have a...
We need something on
We need to take a look at the Patreon to make sure that we can get people to come to the Patreon.
Yeah,
we need to promote the Patreon more so that people know that it's available, that they can keep us going with our stuff because,
Right now, it's free to sign up.
What do you mean it's free to sign up?
There's no cost for our Patreon right now.
No. I don't think there's a cost for anybody's Patreon.
Yeah, it's a subscription. It's a monthly thing. That's what Patreon is.
Not for us.
No, for them.
For them, it's
for you.
It's $0 right now.
But what does that mean?
It means
If they're not paying anything.
You have to put a price on it, Aaron.
Yeah.
I don't. You're saying that
There's no subscription plan.
I thought there was.
No.
Nope.
I looked at it last
No,
week.
I'm not buying that because I did the default.
$0 a month.
What?
It's
That's what it
$0.
says.
I did the default. I did the thing.
That's what it says. I have things. I think I had set up something. But yeah.
Well, then why didn't you change it?
I can't. I didn't touch it.
What do you mean? I didn't make it.
Who made it? Oh God, that's why I told her when I was sitting there looking at it.
I didn't make it. I just signed into it to finish off the setup. I didn't do the setup. She did the setup. Karen did it.
Aren't you the one that completed it?
Yes.
Okay.
But you could. I think if you sign into it, then you can still edit the page.
No, I know that. My point is,
it wasn't done.
She did it.
Yeah.
I brought this on myself.
You brought it on yourself. You brought this ass whooping on yourself.
It's not a big deal. It's just I think it's like one tab in the settings.
We have to check it out. All right.
I have a.
We're out of here.
That has
Say goodbye to the people. Say goodbye to the people.
Bye, people.
I hate being on the edge.